Hey guys, my name's Adrienne. It is Saturday morning, about 53 degrees here in southern Michigan. Let's go check out my garden. Here's the Chinese red noodle beans, getting a little bit taller here on this arch. Last night I direct sowed some homestead beans to travel up this trellis alongside these Chinese red noodle beans because I did not remember how slow to get going they are. Here's some wild thyme and my little pansies. My herb bed took a pretty heavy hit from Japanese beetles and slugs this week, but it's coming back. They really loved this Thai sweet basil, as you can see, but it's actually doing a lot better than it was. And I know the Japanese beetles are down because they love to eat all the petals of my flowers. And since the flowers are looking pretty good, I think we've got a good handle on those. This basil is recovering nicely from all the slug damage. My amethyst basil is still alive. My little Berry's Crazy Cherry tomato plant is setting some blossoms. Here's an Abe Lincoln. Granny Cantrell. Now last weekend I kept saying it was a fluted large red slicer. It's actually a beefsteak variety, not fluted. Here's a tomasol, and that is setting fruit. Here is one of my Paul Robeson plants. This was the first to set a slicer, and now he has a brother. Here's a black brandywine tomato plant, and I'm really happy with how well this plant is doing. Here is one of my sun golds. Sun golds are my favorite tomato so far. I've got a lot of new varieties growing this year, so maybe my new favorite tomato is growing right now. These are white currant tomatoes. Here's another sun gold. Really setting a lot of fruit. Here is some Chinese chives. This is a giant marigold. And back behind this row of tomatoes, I planted bush beans. So I thought that these were dragon tongue bush beans here, but I think they're a yellow variety. These over here are Kalima. Those were really good. That's like a thin French style bean. This is a Coeur de Boeuf, which is a nice large ox heart paste tomato. Here's an Amish paste. Over here is a Thornburg's terracotta. This front row was the last to go in, so these tomato plants are a lot smaller than the others. This bike I have in my garden was my grandma's. Here's some thyme, some wild thyme, and some oregano. I pruned back these eggplants, hoping that they will be a little bit happier here. They haven't been doing great. There's some Thai sweet basil. There's a Dr. Weik's tomato. A couple of fruits. And here is another Thornburg's terracotta. These are a semi-determinate tomato. Never grown it before. Back here, tucked behind these two tomato plants, in my old potato bed, I have sowed a lot of flowers. Here's some nasturtium coming in here. This is some alyssum, I believe. Here's a little marigold. This is a giant marigold, getting ready to bloom. Back behind is a petunia. And then all in this bed, I direct sowed a bunch of zinnias. White polar bear zinnias, and then another variety that is pink with white tips. I can't remember what it's called. But over there is some nasturtium, some other flowers from an edible seed packet that I planted. There's some tall blue cornflower over there. I'm anticipating not really being able to easily access the back side of this bed here, which is why I planted mostly flowers, because all of those pots have tomatoes in them, and in front of those in the ground I have mounds of melons, and that space over there is going to get pretty crazy. And instead of fighting my way through to harvest things in this bed, I thought flowers would be a good choice to put in here, and it's going to be beautiful. Here are a couple of celery plants just struggling because I put them in the ground too late, and I don't think they love the heat. Here's a tomaso tomato. Garlic is about to be harvested, and I'll be replacing that with something. Not sure what yet. Here are a couple of eggplants. A little kohlrabi that is trying to be somebody. This is a mystery tomato plant. I was so excited to find another spot for another tomato plant that I just planted it without writing down what it was. And I missed him on the pruning last night too. This is a ground cherry. It's the only surviving seedling, and it was looking really rough, super small. I up-potted it here with not a lot of confidence that it would survive, and it's doing really well. I'm going to keep it in this pot for a little longer. I think it's a little safer from pests in this pot, and when it gets a little bit bigger, I'm going to plant it right here in this bed where it's sitting. Here's a garlic scape that I let go just to see what it's going to do. This is my first time growing garlic. Here is a mammoth sunflower that really took on some Japanese beetle damage this week. I moved my pot of lemon balm back here. It's a semi-sunny, shady spot. These zinnias are coming in, looking really lovely. I mean, I know this one has been munched on, but it's still really pretty. This is one of my summer squashes. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, and there's a cucumber beetle. See that? So they're sneaky, and if they see you coming, they will run under the leaves and sometimes even drop into the mulch. They don't just like cucumbers. So as I was saying, this is a small, round, zucchini type summer squash. Tastes just like zucchini. And I'm the only one that likes zucchini in my house, so I love growing these small ball type varieties because it's a perfect portion for one person. Here's another calendula. I'm not sure what color that's going to be. We will know soon. So this is the space here that will really go through a major transformation as the season progresses. Here is Minnesota midget melons. Then I have Tigger melons. This is the Kiku chrysanthemum, Orange Glow watermelon, and Sugar Baby watermelon. Back here in the pots I have a Berry's Crazy Cherry tomato. Here's some wild thyme coming out of that old watering can. This is a Napa Chardonnay, an atomic grape, another atomic grape, a sun gold, a Napa Chardonnay, a Thornburg's terracotta, and finally another sun gold. And then back here is another lonely celery plant, and I planted some flowers here as well. Well guys, my serrano pepper, it is what it is. There it is. We'll see. I'm certainly not ripping it out, but time will tell. 2 Tabasco plants in here. Now, I know that this is a crowded pot. My intention is that once they take off, I will probably find some place to put them in the ground, so they won't live in there forever. This is a buttercup squash. Here's a Granny Cantrell beefsteak, a Blueberry's cherry tomato set in its blossoms. This is a variety of delicata squash. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Here's a Napa Chardonnay, some nasturtiums down there. I pulled that plant myself. That was not from a pest. Here is some strawberries and some mint. Down in these pots in front of Grandma's bike is some chives and some parsley. Back in my hot pepper bed is the fish peppers. And remember, this is that variegated plant that the peppers will also be variegated. I have 2 orange jalapeno plants in here, a cayenne, 2 sugar rush peach, and then 2 of those fish peppers. Back behind, I just transplanted a couple of zinnias back here yesterday. Here is an Okinawa pink okra. I squeezed in another burgundy okra back here, just because in southern Michigan okra doesn't grow crazy, and if I want some, I need to plant a few plants. Here's a zinnia, Armenian long cucumbers. This one here is the same, Armenian long cucumber reaching up for the trellis. This is a Parisian pickling cucumber coming on nicely. Another Parisian pickling cucumber. I actually thinned out this little herd of sunflowers here. These are silverleaf sunflowers, and look at that guttation on those leaves. That is not dew. That is the plant expelling its extra moisture. And these leaves are fuzzy and silvery. It's a very unusual plant. Very pretty. And then under there I have one zinnia that I left. There is a Burmese okra. That's the variety that I grew last year, and it was delicious. Peas are still holding their place in the garden, but not much longer, I'm guessing. And underneath here are cucamelons. And once they're ready to get going, these peas will definitely be out of their way. I moved a couple of nasturtium plants here that were crowded elsewhere. Here are some El Dorado zinnias, which are a salmon color. My little mini dahlias. Beautiful. Beautiful blooms. Here's a rondini squash. I grew this one last year. It's similar to that other summer squash that I was telling you about. It's the round ball variety. Here's an atomic grape tomato. Some beautiful pink and purple zinnias alongside this mammoth sunflower that also took a beating from some Japanese beetles this week. Some nasturtium, dill. The bean wall, these are all purple potted pole beans, and they are living up to their expectations. I'm really pleased with how that's looking. This is a pepper bed. In the front here, I have medium heat peppers, like banana peppers, poblano peppers. I have some shishito peppers in here. And I've separated them from my sweet peppers with a couple of eggplants. Not sure if that's going to be a big enough barrier to ward off some cross-pollination, but I'm hoping. That is a sweet bonnet. A habanada, which is a habanero without the heat. These took a pretty heavy hit from some Japanese beetles as well. This is a corbaci. I've got some purple bell peppers in here, along with some yellow bell peppers, orange bell peppers. I have some salmon nasturtium coming up here, and white polar bear zinnias, along with some Thai sweet basil. And I moved a zinnia over here last night next to my 2 pots of mint. This is chocolate mint, and this is, I'm not sure if it's spearmint. I feel like it might be spearmint. It was also taking some heavy damage from the slugs this week. And then I've got some tall blue cornflower. Thanks for walking through the garden with me today.